When I found this pattern, I just had to make it. There's something about the bunny's expression that makes him irresistible, and the colors of the sign just pop. Join me as I show you step by step how to make this bunny inside. The main part of the bunny's body calls for 3/4 inch thick material. I chose a piece of poplar for this because poplar takes paint nicely, and I will be painting the bunny white. The other parts for the bunny will be cut from 1/4 inch poplar. The last two parts are the backer and the words Happy Easter, which will also be made from 1/4 inch poplar. I just need to attach these last two patterns to the wood. To make the inside cuts, you must first drill pilot holes in the sections where the cutouts will occur. I usually do this at the drill press, but you can use a hand-tailed drill. Just make sure the drill bit size is large enough that the scroll saw blade will fit through the hole, but not too large to fit in the space you'll be cutting. The whiskers are narrow, and I think I used a 3/32 drill bit to make these pilot holes. For the whiskers, I cut from the pilot hole to one of the cut lines, then swiveled the workpiece and followed the line to the corner. Rather than try to make that extremely sharp turn, I backed the blade from the corner to the pilot hole, then made the cut on the line opposite the one I just cut. That removed the large enough waste piece to give me plenty of room to maneuver the blade for the cuts on the other side of the whisker. I used the same technique for the rest of the bunny's whiskers. The eyes aren't round, so you can't just drill holes to make them, but they are big enough and have no sharp corners, making them easy to cut. The eyebrows are easy cuts as well because they have rounded edges. For the nose, if you drill the pilot hole near the top, you can just cut to the line, then follow it all the way around. It doesn't matter what order you make these cuts in, just go from one to the next until you've completed them all. Once all the interior cuts are made, the bunny has already started to take on a personality. There are no difficult turns on the outside cut for the bunny. Just take your time, let the blade do the work. The Pegasus scroll saw easily cuts 3/4 inch thick material with the number 9 blade that I'm using. The main piece is now complete, so I peeled off the scroll saw tape I used to attach the pattern to the wood. This didn't take all that long to cut. The next step was to switch to a number 3 Pegasus modified geometry blade to cut the 1/4 inch thick parts. I cut the biggest piece first, the backside of the bunny's body. Once again, there were no difficult parts to this cut. With thinner stock like this, you not only need to switch to a smaller blade, if you have a variable speed saw like this one, you may also need to slow down the motor speed. The faster the speed, the more aggressive the cut, so full speed may be too aggressive for cutting thin stock. As you gain experience, you develop a good feel for when you need to adjust the blade speed. There were a number of other 1/4 inch parts to cut for the bunny, but those were all very simple cuts, and there was no need to show me making them all. The next step was to cut the words Happy Easter for the front of the sign. You should always make the interior cuts first because as you complete cuts and remove waste material, the workpiece loses structural strength. Those small cuts for the details on the 3/4 inch bunny body didn't weaken that piece appreciably, but cutting some fairly large pieces out of the center of these words on 1/4 inch material will make quite a difference. You need to be careful where you put pressure on the piece as you make the larger interior cuts in between the letters. You also need to be cautious as you make the last long exterior cut. I have ruined work pieces by being careless at this last step. With all the parts cut, it's time for assembly. I used a medium-sized glue bottle to apply white glue to the bunny, then used an acid brush to spread the glue around evenly. You want to make sure you get glue all the way to the edges of the project, otherwise you may end up with gaps between the pieces. You want to carefully align the edges of the 1/4 inch piece with the 3/4 one. If not, once the glue dries, you'll have a lot of work to do to clean up the edges. I had some medium-sized spring clamps on hand, which proved to be a good size for the task. Most woodworkers will tell you that you can never have too many clamps. It also pays to have different varieties of clamps on hand. Some work better in different situations and application than others. The bottom of the bunny was about 1.25 inches thick with the feet added to the front, a little too thick for the spring clamps. I could have used a couple of F clamps, but the vise on my workbench was handy, and it would apply even pressure all across the bottom, so I used that. There's the completed bunny with the Happy Easter sign. I really liked the pattern and had fun making it. A beginner with a little bit of experience and some patience should be able to make this project. I'll leave a link to my source for the pattern in the description. I've recently done some other Easter-themed items, and I'll leave links to them as well. You're sure to find at least one more of interest.